A jungle is a mystical place that brims with life and beauty. There is no doubt that it has the capacity to take one's breath away. However, the jungle is a real dark and unpredictable place. Its rulers are the animals that cover the ground in bloodshed. A good example would be Shere Khan from the Jungle Book. The jungle is a barbaric place that shows no mercy. Racism, on the other hand, can be just as barbaric and merciless. Society today has thankfully evolved to the point where future generations will experience less racism than their forefathers have. However, as a result, we often forget how dehumanizing racism really is and its impact on the history of those who experience extremes such as slavery firsthand. To put things into context, we can look at the narrative of Frederick Douglass. Douglass was an abolitionist and former slave. He wrote a touching memoir that terrifyingly described the life of a slave. The theme of dehumanization is quite present. From one end of the spectrum, there is a dehumanization of slaves. An example Douglass provides is the animalization of slaves, in which slaves were compared to animals when it came to feeding or worth. On the other hand, we can also see the dehumanization of the slave owners. Slave owners actively sought to make the lives of slaves a living hell, due to their belief color and race determine superiority. According to Douglass, slave owners separated children from their mothers, giving it as much thought as to separating cattle from their mothers. Morality was nowhere to be seen. Fast forwarding a couple hundred years, there are many sources in literature and film that showcase the double-edged, dehumanizing effects of racism. Beloved, written by Toni Morrison, is about a woman named Sethe who was haunted by her slave past. Sethe controversially commits the greatest act of love by killing her baby daughter to save her from a life of slavery. A society that is driven by racism and slavery is what drove Sethe, who has experienced slavery firsthand, to turn to the most logical way to save her daughter from a fate worse than death. Slavery also brought out the worst in slave owners. One of the most traumatizing scenes in the book was when the school teacher's nephews raped Sethe and took her milk while she was pregnant. Only real monsters would commit an atrocity such as this. Crash is a film that portrays racial tensions in modern-day Los Angeles. In the film, many choose to categorize others by respective stereotypes or to abuse predetermined racial power. For example, there are a lot of instances in which a lot of regrettable actions, such as murder, are brought out from ignorant misunderstandings and assumptions of people's backgrounds. The film is powerful as it shows the dehumanizing loop racism creates, in which one act of racism can lead to so many terrible deeds. We need to be aware of how dehumanizing the effects of slavery can be. Stampede, who is a character from Beloved, expresses slavery as something that made people bloody, silly, worse than even they wanted to be. So scared were they of the jungle they had made. Racism changes people for the worse and it takes away their humanity. We should strive for a more cautious mindset in the hopes that our own jungles will not corrupt us.